It's been quite a busy week in the world of Sussex sightings. First and foremost, Archetypes is back on Spotify after a brief hiatus during the mourning period of Queen Elizabeth. Then we got to see some never before released photos of Prince Harry and Meghan at the opening ceremony of the One Young World Summit that was recently held in Manchester, UK. We even got to see Harry and Meghan having a little bit of fun out on the town in Santa Barbara, enjoying a nice little date night. Now today, it was also revealed that Archewell is working in partnership to provide $1 million to deserving young women. Now, if you've been following Meghan for a while, then you know that anything that has to do with female empowerment and feminism, she's all for it. So this new endeavor definitely tracks as something that is very consistent with the things that Meghan tends to get involved in. Now, the pièce de résistance is the bombshell lawsuit against the Mail on Sunday from Prince Harry and Elton John and a few other large names. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Mail on Sunday is the parent company of the Daily Mail, or as a lot of us like to call it, the Daily Fail. And yes, Meghan was embroiled in a very contentious and long-lasting lawsuit with the Daily Mail, or Mail on Sunday, which she won the lawsuit and also won the appeal. And yes, that was the same lawsuit that Harry's brother, Prince William, allowed his employee, Jason Knopf, to provide private messages between Knopf, who was the comms secretary for Harry and Meghan, partially during their time as senior working royals. So William gave Knopf permission to give the tabloids access to messages between Knopf and Meghan in an effort for Meghan to lose her case against the tabloid. Nonetheless, she persevered. So, yeah, it's about to be very interesting. Also, let's not forget that Harry's father and stepmother, and I was going to say something else, but you know what, I'm going to be nice. Camilla has recently hired a former Daily Mail employee. So, yeah, the not so invisible contract is very much at play here. And ever since the Oprah interview, I feel like a lot more people have been paying attention to the very close relationship the Windsor men and women, that is William and Kate and Charles and Camilla, have been with the tabloids, with the Daily Mail. It really doesn't look like this family feud is going to be resolved anytime soon. And quite frankly, the deeper I dig into it, I don't blame Harry for taking his wife and child out of there. I don't blame him for not having the kids around these people. I don't blame him for not wanting to be there any more than he really needs to be. I mean, all of the leaking and pettiness of the period of mourning for Queen Elizabeth showed us that they're completely incapable of just being decent human beings, of just focusing at the task at hand. They're incapable of not being petty. And it shows just how closely the palaces have been working with the press. Does anyone not find it bizarre that Camilla gets no bad press at all? There was a time that all she got was bad press, and let's face it, there's still a lot of people on social media that can't stand her. But Camilla gets no bad press in the UK. Does anyone not realize that? Also, have we not realized how the press that used to be really mean to Kate, will calling her Waity Katie, which I guess is embarrassing, but I don't think that's the worst of it. The other things of her not being worthy of William because she's not aristocratic enough. But now it's like she's heaven sent. Oh, Kate, she's the savior of the monarchy. Why do you think that is now? All of a sudden, right before it was announced that Harry was dating Meghan, William and Kate were still getting flack from the press. Right? They got in bed with the press. Charles, well, we know how he is with the press. We've seen and heard him talking about how much he can't stand them, but he's most definitely in bed with them to make sure that he gets good press, but most importantly that Camilla gets good press. And you've seen pictures of her like hobnobbing and doing those little cheek kisses with old boy from the Daily Mail. So this lawsuit, and these are some serious accusations against the Mail on Sunday, like phone hacking, bribing police officers for personal information, pretending to be an employee of different places, like I believe it was like hospitals, so they can get access to like medical records, like really, really serious accusations. And I don't think for a second that any of these people involved in this very huge lawsuit would make such accusations and collectively come together to sue what is inarguably the most powerful tabloid in the UK without having just cause, without having really good proof to back up those claims. We know Harry don't play when it comes to suing, okay? And he's been quite successful. Also, Elton John has been quite successful in lawsuits as well. Wow. I think that lawsuit, I know it's probably pissing off Charles and William and the firm, because we know that they have a very close relationship, especially with the Daily Mail. Like I said before, Charles and Camilla recently hired someone, a transplant from the Daily Mail. So buckle up, because it's going to be a long and bumpy ride. While they're sitting around thinking and talking about Harry's book and Meghan's podcast, this tea has been brewing and getting stronger, and now they decided to drop it. So we'll see. I'm definitely going to be staying tuned and trying to talk about it with you guys. Let's get into Archetypes. So this week is the demystification of the Dragon Lady, and the two special guests was Margaret Cho, who is an Emmy-nominated actor and comedian, and a legendary American journalist, Lisa Ling. Now, both Cho and Ling talked to Meghan about their climb to success and the cultural depictions of Asian women that would eventually become hurdles in their respective careers. Now, Lisa talked a little bit about growing up and lack of representation, and it's true. If you really look around, Hollywood has been trying to be a bit more diverse. So we're seeing a lot more Black folks or biracial folks in a lot of roles that we never were seen in before. And while those improvements have been happening, the representation of Asian Americans is even worse than Black and Latinos. And let's just keep it real. Whenever you do see them, the people of color are almost always shown or depicted in very negative stereotypes. The very aggressive Black woman, the very spicy Latino chica, the dragon lady, very aggressive Asian woman who's very calculating, negative stereotypes. So they both talked about the lack of representation. And then when the representation does present itself, it has almost always been very negative. They'll either show the Asian women as lotus flowers who are seen as submissive and quiet, or the opposite, the dragon lady who is unlikable and overbearing and calculating. Right? So there are specific caricatures of women of Asian descent that are negative. And they've even discussed the depictions of the twins from the Austin Powers movie, or the Vietnamese sex worker in Full Metal Jacket, and how that movie and that representation had such a lasting impact on pop culture, to the point where the words where she said, me love you long time, became the soundbite for a very popular song. And I know the song, and I've heard it, and I've sung it, and I didn't even realize where it came from and how harmful that trope is. And I feel like in this podcast in particular, it really made me sit and take pause when it comes to the characterization of Asian women in pop culture that I never really sat and thought about. And what I loved the most about this conversation is they even tied these negative tropes into very disturbing things that have been happening lately. They talked about the Atlanta spa shootings. So for those of you who don't know, it's been about a year or so since the spa shootings in Atlanta. So there was a Caucasian fellow who went on a rampage in Atlanta, killing 8, and 6 of the 8 lives lost were Asian women. And since that murderous rampage, there has been a stark increase in violent crimes against Asians in the US. So sometimes these harmful tropes and archetypes can have long-lasting effects, and, unfortunately, in that case, fatal. Overall, I really enjoyed this episode. So if you haven't listened yet, I recommend you click that link in the description box below and give it a listen. And when you're done listening to it, and I know you're going to enjoy it, trust me on it, make sure you rate. So, what else are we going to talk about? We talked about archetypes. We talked about the newly released photos of Harry and Meghan looking fly and happy, holding hands, which we know is going to piss off some people, but we do not care. We talked about that new lawsuit against the Mail on Sunday. And oh yeah, there's the new partnership. So this new endeavor is between Archewell and the Ving Project, and it's being labeled as a national giving movement. So they're donating $1 million, but it's going to be in $1,000 grants to young ladies between the ages of 14 and 18 who are living in the US. And you can nominate women in your life who are in need of a financial boost. And I think that it's such a wonderful project. And if you've followed Meghan for any number of years, then you know that she heavily engages in a lot of things that has to do with women's empowerment. Let's not forget that she was a UN Women Ambassador long before she met Harry. She's always been a feminist, always engaging in a lot of work that revolves around female empowerment. And so this new endeavor is not surprising. It tracks with everything that she's always done. And one thing with Meghan when it comes to her philanthropic work is your girl is consistent. Okay? Now, in this episode, Meghan talked about being yourself. She said something along the lines of a very loud voice from a very small place.
Just be yourself no matter what any societal framework or archetype or loud voice coming from a small place tells you that you should be. Be yourself. You're full, complete, whole, layered, sometimes weird, sometimes awesome, but always best and true self. Just be you. You're so much greater than any archetype.
And oh, honey, they were so mad. The haters on social media. What, who? Did she say a loud voice from a small place? The trolls on social media, and of course, the UK tabloids automatically assumed that they were talking about them, about the UK, about the UK press, about the royal family. Everything Meghan does, according to these people, is an attack on the royal family. They really need to cut it out. Okay? It's not always about you. But I thought it was hilarious that this is the takeaway from these people. I'm like, are you admitting that you are a very loud and annoying negative voice in a small place? Anyhow, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, hit that notification bell.